Welcome to Cinema Sitdown. Today we watched the Florida Project with a whole bunch of mischievous little kids in a apartment complex. So join us in just a few moments and we're going to talk about it. Hi again, we're back. I'm here with...
I'm Jordan. I'm Addie.
I'm Thomas.
And I'm Kayla.
And I'm Isaiah. So we're just going to go through some initial kind of impressions and just maybe some emotions, some moods you're kind of feeling. We'll start with you.
I did enjoy it. I feel like it takes a turn a little bit halfway through. You're kind of just watching these kids just live their life in the middle of the summer. I think they said like 2 weeks into their summer break. And then all of a sudden things start happening and people go different places, and it's very almost jarring a little bit as to what happens. But it's a very simple story. I like stories that are very simple. And for me, like just watching the kids run around felt very nostalgic of being a child in the middle of the summer with nothing to do. So you just go to your neighbor and you're like, hey, you want to do something? And they're like, okay. But it was cute. It's very cute.
Yeah, I do agree. Something about it was very nostalgic. I will say I don't know if I was as ornery with
yeah, that's fair.
some of the stuff that they did,
That's fair.
but just like some simple stuff that they were doing, just like, you know, running out in the rain, playing stuff like that,
Right.
and just like some of the like gibberish they were almost saying. I was just like, that, yeah, let's go back to simpler times. But,
Yeah, so this was also my first time watching it. I knew it was about like kids in an apartment complex. That's about it. I knew some bad stuff was probably going to happen because, yeah, it's a movie. But I don't know. It felt very like bittersweet because you get all these like kind of very bright like contrast is just kicked up, and so you get the sense like this is going to be a really like fun and cute kind of movie. And like you mentioned, Jordan, like halfway through, real stuff starts to happen, and it's just kind of like that big contrast between like a child's like view on the world and reality. And I just really enjoyed that. I really liked the movie. The ending I have a few qualms about, but we'll get into that. We'll start with Kayla and then move down this way because I know Thomas has choice opinions on this movie.
Yeah, honestly, it actually took me a while to understand what was going on in the first place because it was kind of moving slow and just like, yeah, these kids are running across the street. Oh my gosh. Surprised they don't get hit by a car with how much they were doing it. Like you see in the background all the time, there's these cars everywhere and they just keep walking across the street. But I mean, once I kind of understood what the story was trying to tell, I was like, okay, I can kind of get this now. I don't really feel the nostalgia from it, probably because I grew up in the woods. So like every time it was summer, instead of being like, go talk to the neighbor kid, it was go play in the woods by yourself.
okay.
So, I don't feel that sense of it, but I do kind of still feel like the childlike sense of let's go do something and making up all your fun stuff and eating ice cream really grossly. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
This movie is certainly about Florida, and this movie is certainly produced by A24. I want a blanket statement. I do have nice things to say about this movie, I promise. I truly mean that. There are some things that I did really like. I will just blanket statement, this is not my kind of movie, and that's okay. But as I had talked about before the show, we're going to have some friendly discussions about it. I'm not going to get too heated about anything. I just want to state my opinions.
Yeah, so basically you're kicked off the show, actually.
No, it's
Yeah,
cool.
we're gonna put a piece
Get
of
out.
tape around your mouth. But so I mean, when you say your type of movie, I guess for anyone who hasn't seen it, it's a very like slow, meandering kind of movie. Like stuff happens, but there's not a real like clear story arc. The characters don't really change, and the world, like the reality for this kid does change kind of, but you never actually see the result of it. So really things remain the same throughout this whole movie. And for me, I really enjoy movies that are very open, I guess, and kind of ambiguous, and also just you're just kind of experiencing life with these characters. It reminds me a lot of this Korean movie called Burning. It has Steven Yeun, super good. But like for 2 hours, you just see this guy like meander through life. So it gives me that, and I love those types of movies. So I can see how like for other people, this would just be an absolute chore to get through, you know? But I do want to ask what your thoughts were on some of the cinematography, because it does a lot of different stuff in it.
Cinematography is admittedly not really the field that I'm the most knowledgeable in. I thought there were some really pretty shots. To an extent, there was a point where I was like, I don't know if they included this just because they're like, yeah, we shot this really pretty shot, but we don't have any reason to include it into the main overarching story. So we're just going to put it in between two things happening. If I had a nickel for every time there was a shot of someone just walking somewhere and then pulling out a cigarette, smoking it, and then cutting to something completely different that didn't go anywhere. And I realized probably like an hour and a half into this movie, it's like just under 2 hour long movie. I realized that what that was is it was a way to signify like a day had passed. It was essentially, it was like, oh, you know, this is no longer the same day, it's now the next day. It was just showing, hey, there's someone smoking at sunset. Here's someone smoking in the middle of the night. And now it's the next day, and or even more time has passed, to show that some time had passed. But as far as cinematography, there are a lot of cool instances. Specifically I'm trying to remember exactly when it happens, but the sequence when they're going through the like abandoned house, there were some interesting shots where it's just the kids going around this abandoned house, and of course they all live in a motel. Just being like, oh, you know, I put my bed here, and actually no, I put it in the middle and fill the outside of it with toys. Like, okay, yeah, no, that's. This is a good way to show that. It's just showing literally an empty, desolate room that's been broken into God knows how many times, and just showing a kid being like, oh, this is how I make it my space. Yeah,
there's a lot of like kind of differing techniques, like at the end, especially when they go into this whole weird kind of it's kind of very quick, and you're seeing kind of like almost, it looks like they changed the frame rate, I don't know, to slow it down or something, or speed it up, but they have a lot of like really wide still shots, and they also have ones where they're tracking the kids, and it gives a really, I don't know, I really enjoyed it because it gives both the sense that these are like little kids living in such a big world, but it also has these really intimate moments where you're like, you feel like you're also stumbling around this, like the house you mentioned, like you're stumbling around the house with them and all that. And I think it's also kind of gives that sense of like how messy their lives are as well. Like, yeah, it's so open and grand and beautiful, but it's also dirty and like rocky and, you know, dangerous. And I really enjoy that about the movie. I think that differing stuff works. I'm not sure how I feel about the end again. I don't really like that whole sequence.
I don't understand it that much.
The whole movie was so still and such wide shots, and like cinema grade quality. The last sequence, I swear it was shot on a GoPro. Genuinely, it looks like it was shot on a GoPro.
It looks like
and minor spoilers: they run into Disneyland. Don't know how they got in, because security there is super strict, especially two unattended kids, but whatever. They run into Disneyland, and it's literally the camera operator running behind them, super, super shaky, because it's literally them running behind two kids who are running. And I don't think that they were set to be filming there. I think that they just did that. Because if you look around, there's people like, where are these two kids running around? People just looking straight at the camera, and I'm like, this has to just be like a GoPro or a handheld camera, something like that.
I think I can kind of make sense of why the camera changed like that. And this is just me completely guessing and not being that much of a cinematography buff. But like I notice how a lot of times it's during the whole movie it changed between shots of like the wide shots kind of watching the whole scene play out that were really still, not too dynamic, and then between shots of that and moving cameras where you could see it shake and move with the characters. And my thoughts on that is like maybe it's supposed to be like showing a change in perspective. Like those still ones are more of like outside perspective, and then those shaky ones are like the kid's perspective. And so maybe when they're going into Disneyland and it looks choppy and framing, the kid was having a mental breakdown. So maybe it's just like bits and pieces coming together to show the runaway to Disneyland. That's my guess, but yeah.
It kind of, that ending scene to me it feels like, because everything is very steady, very locked down. There's movement, but there's not, it looked handheld, that last scene. And it felt like to me that these two kids were at, especially the main kid, she was at a breaking point of, I am never going to see you again because I have to leave. I'm being taken away. What if it was just her mind? What if we just left right now and went to Disneyland? The magical place on earth, the best place on earth. That's kind of what I took from it, is that that scene was all in her head of what she would want to do next.
I like that.
Yeah, I kind of got the sense of, I like it. I like the idea. I feel like it kind of just lurched me out of the moment.
Yeah.
But in terms of like the idea, like if it was written down in the script, the story, I like the idea of her going. She's so close to Disneyland, yet she never actually goes there till the end. And I really like the idea of her in this really emotional state. The only thing she can think of is to run to Disneyland for comfort. I think that's really sad.
It's also kind of ironic that the motel she lives in is called the Magic Castle.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
And that's where they went at the very
I guess,
end.
Yeah.
I didn't make that
it's like,
connection either.
Yeah,
That
it's
would make
really
sense.
there's like levels of irony and like just bittersweet. Is how I would kind of describe it. Let's maybe go into the characters a little bit with the time we have. I'll just kind of leave it up to if there's any thoughts on any characters in particular you guys want to go into. Addie?
Addie, go first.
We might be thinking the same
think
thing.
so.
Yeah.
But, so, I get it. Some people have hard lives. I totally understand that. And I'm not saying it's easy to raise a kid. I have no idea. I don't have any kids. But if you're not going to really take responsibility to raise a kid, I mean, if you can't take care of yourself, you probably shouldn't take care of a kid either. And I could be wrong. Was it even hers? I don't remember what they.
I think so.
They said.
I believe so.
Was it hers? Okay. My point still stands. I still don't. I don't get it, and it made me so infuriate.
And she only got worse during the movie, I feel like. She dug herself
That's
deeper
what I
and deeper in the
thought she
hole.
did.
Like, her first instinct for anything was always immediately start cussing out the person in front of her.
Right.
Like,
And so I was like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I felt bad at first, and I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe this will, like, really show, like, maybe the situation she's getting into. And I'm like, no, I feel like now she's just kind of bringing it on herself. I can't defend it any longer, you know, kind of thing.
she literally, the mom literally beat the crap out of her former friend. I mean, there's no, I don't feel no sympathy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember
She
when I
was
said this movie was
unhinged.
just about Florida? I've been to Florida once or twice, and I've seen some of that behavior, and I'm just like, yeah, no, this is about
For
Florida.
real.
Yeah, I think the movie goes into kind of, I guess, the role of being a parent. You can have so much love for your kids, but that doesn't mean you're a good parent.
Yeah.
And I think we see that with the mom, where she's very reckless, impulsive, and you see all these kind of negative traits, but she also does love her kid. And it's clear she's willing to do whatever she can to support her kid at the end of the day. I mean, we see her do, she's selling perfumes, she elicits a man in prostitution, all that kind of stuff. I forgot what else she does. I think in the beginning, she does like stripping work, all that kind of stuff.
She
She's
stole
a-
like those
Yeah, she
bands and sold
steals.
them.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
steals.
Hustle.
Scammer.
Yep, all that. Probably more stuff that I can't remember. But she's doing all this at the end of the day for her kid. And yes, she's also being very impulsive, but I think it's trying to kind of show like she's also still a kid. Like she's very young. And it just shows like it's like a kid. It's like when you're babysitting someone, but you're like 2 years older than them, and it's like I don't know what to do, so I'm just gonna like give you candy and like I don't know, let's watch TV and stuff like that. So it's like I dislike her, but I also like can understand her. It's a very realistic kind of character.
Yeah.
And it contrasts with William Dafoe's character, who is very mature, and he's more of like a father, real parent kind of figure.
That's who I wanted to go into.
Yeah.
He is easily the best part of this movie, in my opinion. In my opinion.
You're right.
He is consistently responsible, looking after not just Haley's kid, the main mom, but all of the kids who are living there. He looks after all of the residents, no matter how. I believe it was the same character that was like at the pool doing the thing that I won't discuss on PBS. And he was like kind of getting into it with her, and then later he's like, "Ah, you gotta smoke," and she's like, "Yeah, for you, absolutely." Like he is to an extent, at least somewhat of a friend of everyone there, and it is such a cool character to see, especially with the main protagonist, like the kid and the mom. It goes so well together, and specifically, like you mentioned, like it's a hard character to play. It's a hard character to have because you want to not like her. She's impulsive. She's rude, but also at the end of the day, she is in her own way trying to do the right thing.
Yeah. Well, it even shows like Willem Dafoe like his like a glimpse of his situation as well,
Yep.
and like with his son who's all grown up, and I think it's almost like he feels really, really bad for Haley in her situation and wants to also do as much as he can. I think it's just the taking advantage of the kindness that kind of ticks me off a little bit, because it's like she expects it, and then that's when I kind of have a problem, because I'm like, you really shouldn't expect that. But I mean, I can't speak on like that kind of living situation because I don't know, but I do agree that he was easily one of the best in it.
Yeah, and they do a lot of like still kind of shots on William Dafoe. He's usually like smoking or just staring at the kids and stuff like that. So you can see like he's supposed to be portrayed as this very like calming figure in both really the mom and the kids' lives, and really for like the whole community, which I thought was really interesting, because I thought they were gonna kind of go the trope of like, oh, everyone hates the owner, the manager, or whatever, which is kind of true, but also there's a sense of like community, like they appreciate him, but they're also like he has that responsibility to take care of them. I thought it was just a really cool aspect, and I wish they would have given him a little bit more time almost. I think this movie could have used like maybe just 20 minutes of more character development for Willem Dafoe, because I feel like that last moment of him choosing to let the kid get taken away could have been a lot more powerful if we knew more about his character. I don't even remember his name. I don't know.
Bobby?
Bobby.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, Bobby. I keep calling him Defoe, but Bobby. Bobby could have used a lot more character development, in my opinion. I wanted to know more about his family situation and how that correlated or contrasted with the mom in the movie. And I think, Kayla, I don't think you got to talk about the characters. Was there someone that you wanted to bring up?
Kind of, sort of. I still did want to bring up Bobby a little bit, because there's one thing I want to build on that a little bit, just a little bit. Is just that at the very beginning, he was kind of set to be that mean, grumpy manager man. I mean, from the kid's perspective, everyone's perspective. But I feel like as time went on, it showed that he genuinely did care about those kids. I mean, he got rid of the creepy guy that was, he straight up smacked soda, get him out. And like, he was trying to be responsible and try and lead him the right way, but doing the best he could. And I really appreciated that aspect where, like, the whole movie, in fact, does a lot of like showing, not telling, almost, or like implications. And I liked that as well for his character and a lot of characters as well.
Yeah, it's a very subtle movie, and I really enjoyed that. We'll go into our ratings here and see how much you guys enjoyed that type of movie, starting with Jordan.
Out of 10, I would give it about a 7. I think it was really good. And I like that we can infer who called CPS, but I like that we don't know. I personally think Bobby did it. As much as he did love them, I think he knew this was not a good situation. But they don't ever tell us who called them. But yeah, I would give it a 7 out of 10.
That's pretty high, but I mean, you do you. I don't know. You said a 7?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like the more that I have time to think about it, I might give it a little bit of a higher rating, but it's more like, it's a 5.5. I don't really know if I'll watch it again, but it was interesting. A lot to talk about.
Kayla?
I'm going to kind of agree with that sort of mentality of like, there's a lot to talk about, and you can definitely go into they completely gloss over the fact that a kid committed arson, but there's a lot of things to examine and look at, but honestly, it's kind of slow-paced, and it's very simple. And for me, like, it took me a while to understand a lot of stuff in the movie. I got an understanding watching this, so I'm gonna give it a 4, just not for me, but a lot of people probably would like it.
I'm in a very similar boat. I know it's not for me. This movie is very gritty. It's very realistic. It's Florida. It made me feel genuinely gross at some times. I won't mention what specific instances. It is very realistic. It is very, very realistic in a lot of ways. 4. out of 10. It's just, again, it's not for me. There are some things I really like about it. Willem Dafoe does great. 4.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say I was saving mine, ruminating, didn't want any pressure. I really love how the realism of the characters. I love how slow it is. I'd probably give it like 8 overall. So I'm gonna probably be the highest.
Wow.
And I
But
respect that.
I think people should give this movie a try. You know, if you're watching it, you have some free time. It's on something. I don't know. We couldn't figure it out. It's on
Go find
somewhere.
it.
Like Netflix,
But-
maybe.
Yeah.
But thank you for joining Cinema Sit Down. Have a wonderful day, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Bye.